you're having an amazing time, and today I'm going to be pretty much talking about the OnePlus Nord and why this is an actual good idea to get this phone, especially if you're on a budget or you're thinking about buying a phone at that $600 to $700 region or even Euro region, depending on what country you're at the moment. To be honest, I've been using it as a main driver for a month now. I come from a previous OnePlus 6 phone, and I have to say that this upgrade for me has been amazing, and it totally is an upgrade. Fortunately, there was a program here in Finland that actually lets you apply to be a OnePlus ambassador, which is pretty cool. As an ambassador, pretty much I got my OnePlus Nord and actually full access to use it however I want, and not actually contractually. So to be honest, all of my opinions are mine and just mine. There are some negatives about the phone, but mostly it's been a positive experience for me, and I would be definitely glad to actually go for it again. So OnePlus, if you ever come up with anything cool, please send it to me. So the first thing on the bucket list is the 4100 milliampere battery, and to be honest, it's been great. For one charge, you pretty much get a full days of usage and a little bit extra too. It's kind of nice to come back home and to actually see that after a full days of usage out that you have 20 or 30 or even in some cases 40% battery life. It has warp charge, which is really cool. I think it was like fast charge or whatever it was in the future. There was like a copyright thing with the name, and they decided to change it. Doesn't really matter, it still works well. It's 30 watt and it's really powerful. So pretty much today when I came back home, I had 5% left on the battery because I didn't charge it the night before. For many hours today I've been on the road just calling and pretty much using the phone, and I actually noticed that I left with 20%, I came back with 5, but what kind of surprised me about the fast charge was that I pretty much went to the bathroom while I left this to fast charge. I was there for a few minutes and it already was loaded up to 25%, which is a lot if you need to do some calls or just use your phone in an emergency situation. The efficiency of the phone is great, and with the updates that I'm going to talk about, it actually gets better. What they pretty much claim is, I think it's half an hour to 70%, and that's more of a days of usage for me. I've been using the face unlock a lot more because for me it's just the easiest way to actually unlock the phone. When I switched from the OnePlus 6, I found myself actually reaching for the back. I got used to it by now, and I have to say that in some situations the fingerprint reader doesn't really work that well in some of the situations. For example, when you're in a perfect world, it just works fine. Now it actually unlocked with my face, but if I actually open it here, it works well. It's fast, it does everything. The problem that I encountered with the fingerprint reader is that it doesn't feel like you're touching anything in the screen. You really have to it's really hard blindfoldedly to actually find where it is. You have to know what spot of the screen you're touching, or it's not just gonna work. And just because your finger is actually on top of it, it doesn't always work. It kind of has to be perfect on it. Another problem that I actually encountered was if it's raining and there's a little bit of liquid in front of the screen, it's not gonna work that well either. Technology is what it is, but in most of the cases you're gonna use the face unlock anyways. I really recommend you to. It's just so much faster, it does everything perfectly, and that's pretty much what I've been using in the OnePlus 6 anyways. Sometimes when you're waking up at night, this is just a lot easier. And something, by the way, that I noticed was that if you are sleeping and it's really dark, I'm actually gonna show this. How the technology works is that it has to light up your finger so you can see. Flash it one more! Stop flashing! That's going to blind the heck out of you. So click. I'm not gonna yet again fault OnePlus for it, it's just how the technology is. So if security is an important measure for you, it's kind of great to know that it doesn't really let anybody in. The problem is just it's not ideal for every situation, in my opinion. And to be honest, I don't usually use the fingers to unlock a phone anyways. I really do rather, use the face unlock. It may be in a car if I'm trying to swap a song or something like that. I would actually use the finger a little bit more, but you shouldn't be driving and handling a phone anyways, because my mom said so. Yeah. The third point is the cameras in this phone. I think is one of the main reasons why people are talking about it is that it's a budget phone with the OnePlus 8 camera and a lot of great features in them, and many of them too. Something that I found out myself doing was not using the selfie cameras at all. I, to be honest, don't use the selfie cameras pretty much for anything else than unlocking the phone or taking occasional selfies here and there. People still talk about the front-facing cameras, and they're really good. The great thing about it is that you get two. One of them is for portrait mode, and one of them is for a little bit of a more angled format. And pretty much do whatever you want with them. And especially now that you have a wider angle of a lens, it's kind of cool that you can actually fit more on the picture without actually extending your hand and looking like a crazy person going everywhere. The back cameras, I've been using the wider angle in a few situations, but mostly the normal 48 megapixel camera is the main driver that I use. It does take a good enough picture for Instagram. You can pretty much just take your phone out and just snap a picture, and people would actually think that it's being taken with a DSLR in certain situations. Of course, at nighttime it breaks down a little bit, and if it's really shiny or sunny, it does blow out in certain areas, but that's why I shoot RAW with it. And in most of the situations where I've shot RAW, I could actually fix them inside of the phone, which is that much cooler. And I think OnePlus did a really good job here in finding the main cameras that really do go for the daily flow, if that makes sense. For example, for the most of the situations that you're going to use the phone, it does handle real well. And I'm really surprised that a phone under $400 does that. Because when you go up on price, that's the features that doesn't change. It's pretty much just the memory and nothing else, which is kind of cool. So it's the same processor, same cameras, even though if you buy the €100 cheaper phone, and I think that's pretty cool. In my opinion, something that they should have thought about just a little bit before actually implementing it was the bottom cameras. I think the macro one is kind of useless. I never used it, to be honest, in any situation. Either you scrap the 2 megapixel one and you're just okay with it and just lower the price even more, or what you could actually do is just find one really well working camera as a third camera. A phone doesn't really have to have 6. I'm not sure if that's a thing in the phone world at the moment, that people are just listening to the amount of cameras and they're like, oh my god, it's a good phone because it has 12 of them. No, just go for the good ones and focus on what you've been focusing at the moment, because the road that OnePlus is on at the moment is really good. So I pretty much need a bright screen mostly when I'm using my drone. I have a Phantom 4 that I like to fly up with, but it's sunny when I'm using it. So it was great to know that I could actually see everything that was going on inside of my drone and actually see all of the button and the menu and the layout and everything in direct sunlight. Now I know I don't really have to buy another tablet to actually do that work. I can just pretty much use my phone, which is kind of cool that it has a USB-C port onto it, so I can actually connect it directly to my drone too. Everything pretty much works well together on this phone. And something about the screen also is that the camera position, the front-facing cameras are actually positioned on the top left corner. Everybody pretty much knows this, but after a month of usage, I never actually saw it block my screen or even the top menu bar, which I actually started to notice with my OnePlus 6 was that some of the programs and some of the features were actually built for the top notch. So you start to see some pushbacks or alignments that didn't really make sense, or you had so many things that didn't actually show up on the top screen. And with this one, you actually see everything. And even if you're watching a video, sometimes I actually had to look on the lower left corner to actually even remember that I had front-facing cameras. The front-facing cameras don't really block anything in the front screen, even though they do take a little bit of a chunk of a space on the top left. It's just real well placed, everything after it, and everything actually fits there. I like that. And something else about the screen is that it is 90 Hz. I don't really play that many games with it, but it felt smooth. Especially, I'm one of those people who uses a lot of apps, not for gaming, but mostly for daily usage. For example, if I use a DJI app for my drone, it's so amazing to actually go through a screen that is really smooth. That 30 FPS or 30 Hertz jump is enough. And the great thing about this phone generally is that everything either is pretty much close to the best or the second best that there is. So, Nord, I catched it. Good job. But two pointers right here for the screen too is that please, Nor, just listen. I know listening for people on YouTube is crazy sometimes, but go for this one, okay? When you're using the front-facing camera, like I kept saying, is that sometimes you kind of forget where they are because you've used for them to be in the middle. Make them flash up or something like that. That would be really cool. Like a little ring around the camera that you're using at the moment. It kind of like flashes to let you know where you're looking at. That would be really cool, you know? Distinguish yourself, you know? Of course, it's also missing the 3.5 jack on the bottom. There was a few situations that I pretty much went and grabbed my headphones and then I remembered, oh, it doesn't actually have those anymore. That didn't really make or break my day. It was one of those reminders that, oh, I also have Bluetooth headsets, so why don't I just use those? Actually, I have Apple EarPods that I'm using at the moment. Connectivity with Apple products, for example, I'm using the EarPods at the moment. I'm looking to buy the buds. At the moment, they're just sold on Telia. So Telia, please, more buds on a web store and let me just get them, okay? I have the money. The buttons are a little bit lighter than before. For example, on my OnePlus 6, they were a lot more, stiffer, in my opinion. It's just something that you have to get used to, that every time you push something, it's a lot more easier to actually push it. So you just have to get used to how you actually hold your phone and what you're actually doing with it. And pretty much to the final point where I'm just going to talk about like the rest of the features that this has. It does have 5G, which goes more to the software and network side of it. So if you're interested in a phone that is really fast and you can actually get everything out of it, the 5G in this phone works perfectly. And especially thank you for Elisa for giving us those cards. And as the operating system, the OS system has been getting a lot of updates for the time that I've been using it. I think it's 4 or 3 updates already. Pretty much every week I've been getting one, which is so cool that you can get actually those updates that actually lifts, for example, battery lives or makes it a lot more smoother to use. At the moment, they're coming up with the Oxygen 11, I think it is, and I'm really hyped to actually see what it looks like. They've been showing us teasers that it just looks sick. So OnePlus, once you come out with it, just hit it up on the phone. I'm gonna download it. We're gonna talk about it, okay? Let's go. So all in all, what did we learn from this 1 month usage? Well, in my opinion, it is that with a budget setup, you really can get a lot these days, especially if you have a company like OnePlus that is focusing on the parts that you really need. And I'm really happy and excited that they actually took this route and they're sticking into it. Thank you for doing that, by the way. So for the last time, big thanks goes for OnePlus, especially for accepting me to be an ambassador for this Finnish program. Big thanks goes for William and his team in Helsinki. I'm really glad that you guys actually thought that I would be good enough to actually be an ambassador for a program. So big thanks for that. The only thing I can say is that I hope we can work more in the future. Never settle. Thank you, OnePlus, and goodbye.